I was trying to do everything. And I'm kind of glad I did because I learned different parts of the company so I know how to select the right person for that job because I understood the job.
Yes.
You know, the billing, the payroll, the accounts receivable, sales, network, marketing, the financials even, you know, the accounting. I had to do all of that.
Yeah.
And at some point you have to learn that big D word, delegate. That's a tough one.
It's become my favorite word.
I love it. It's the best.
Right? Welcome to another episode of Leaders in the Spotlight with me, Tige Charity.
This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode of
Leaders in the Spotlight.
Thank you.
Welcome to Season 5 of what used to be called Leadership Realities. What do you mean by used to be, Tige? Well, we have renamed the podcast to Leaders in the Spotlight, where we put leaders in the spotlight. And I am your host, Tige Charity. Today's guest is Leonard Jackson, a dynamic entrepreneur and advocate for innovation. As the founder and CEO of Norfleet Transportation, he leads a multi-million-dollar logistic company with over 100 employees and a successful freight broker training program. Leonard also has a rich background in entertainment with acting credits in over 175 productions and has authored the guide, How to Become a Successful Commercial Actor. With nearly 3 decades of experience and an Executive MBA from Pepperdine University, he mentors HBCU students as a judge of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation program. Leonard, welcome to the show.
I was trying to figure out who's she talking about.
We talking about you, sir. We talking about you. Welcome. Let me just say,
Thank you for having me.
As the daughter of a truck driver, I'm real excited because I know my daddy gonna tune in to this one here.
He probably ran a few loads for us at some point.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
We probably did. Yeah.
Let's talk about this. Your business. How did you start? When did you start the business? And why did you start the business?
Yeah, I've always been entrepreneurial minded. There was a thing called Olympic Sales Club back in like the 70s. It was on the back of the Highlights magazines. You would flip on the back of the magazine, you see all these toys and everything. And that was when I first realized later in life, I realized that was my first entrepreneurial thing because I saw those gifts and I said, how do I get those gifts? And they said, all you gotta do is sign this and fill this out and mail it in and then we're gonna send you this stuff and you go sell it. I was like, yeah, that seems simple enough. So no parents talking to me, nothing. I don't even know to this day if they know I even did this, but I filled this stuff out.
Oh my gosh.
And I was 6 years old maybe, sent the stuff in, they sent me the stuff. I went door to door.
At 6 years old?
Six or seven, yeah.
Wow.
And I went door to door and I sold this stationery. I didn't even know what I was selling. And sure enough, they sent me a racetrack. I was like, golly, that's it? All I gotta do is do these things and I can get rewarded with something.
Wow.
And that was the first time I realized, okay, I'm a little
Something
entrepreneur.
to this.
Yeah. And then later I started a paper route and, just certain things like that. So that was kind of the first time I realized, okay, actually at the time I didn't realize it, but later I realized, looking back at little Leonard, I'm like, hey, that guy was already kind of driven.
It's amazing how that works. Things from your childhood, you don't really connect until later in life, like, that explains that. But you know what? In 2025, I don't know about going door to door as a 6-year-old or 7-year-old. So those were the good days.
Those
right?
were. Be home before the lights come on, the street lights come on.
And you felt safe.
Oh yeah, you didn't have to think about that.
I love it.
But yeah, it was a very enlightening thing to realize that if you just put in some work, it's not good. Yeah, it's just
I'm gonna start sipping early. The magic word is put in the work.
Just put in the work. Let's put in the work. So yeah, that's when I first noticed it.
Okay, so now you are an actor as well. So I gotta figure out how we bridge this gap. Now, when did you start acting with over 175 commercials?
Yeah. Yeah.
From like commercials from which ads? Like
Yeah.
what were you promoting?
Well, I mean, all the insurance, State Farm, Geico, Progressive, all of those.
All the competitors.
All of them. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. But they were not at the same time. But I can tell you when I started. I remember when I started, like yesterday. I remember watching TV. This is like in the early '80s, so I was maybe 9 or 10. I remember watching TV and I was like, I can do what these kids are doing. This does not look that hard.
Right.
So I literally did this. For those who don't remember, there's a thing called newspaper.
Yes, right.
And the newspapers had one ad. So I was like, let me go find a job as an actor. I never talked to my parents. Now that I look at my kids, I got 4 kids, and everything they want to do, they come to me. But I don't remember talking to my parents about any of this stuff.
Are you serious?
So I grabbed the newspaper and I started looking for jobs as an actor. And I found this one ad that says, you want to be an actor? Call this number. Call the number. And they said, yeah, have your parents bring you, da-da-da-da-da-da. He ended up being kind of a scammer or whatever.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But that's when I got the bug, because I would go to these acting
Workshops,
classes,
seminars.
workshops, and I would do some scenes and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could get into this. But that's when I first started. And then I got older and I realized that, that's nothing. And then when I graduated high school and I started going to college, I was in Atlanta at the time. And at college, they said you have to sign up through the Georgia Film Association or something. So I got all these lists of agents. And I got some headshots, started sending headshots out. And then he just started sending me on auditions before he would sign me to see how I would do. And then I booked a role on In the Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor. And I started booking a lot of stuff in Georgia. Before Georgia was even doing anything.
Right, before Georgia is what it is now.
Right, this is like in 1990, 1991. And then they were all like, you need to go to LA. And I'm from LA, so I was like, yeah, I was planning on going back anyway. So I came back to LA, got an agent, got a manager, and started booking stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you go to college in Atlanta, your undergrad? Because I know your master's is Pepperdine.
Yes, I went to Georgia State University.
Georgia State University.
Nothing flashy, because I was working the entire time.
What did you major in?
Business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Business administration.
Makes sense.
And
So tell me about when you booked your first gig, like when you booked that. I think you said The Heat of the Night. Was that the very first one?
That was it.
What was that like for you when you got that phone call from your agent that said, booked it?
My first booking was actually this mom and pop car dealership in like Jonesboro, Georgia or something.
Oh, wow.
I was through the moon. I was like, I am made for this. I can do this. And it wasn't anything special, trust me. But the Heat of the Night booking was massive because I was it's just a magical, even to this day when I book something, it just feels so, because there's so much
Competition for one.
There's so much competition,
Yes.
and as an actor, we need reassurance all the time.
I guess so, because you get rejection after rejection. Like, it just kind of comes, you know what I'm saying?
You get rejected so often.
Right.
That even when you're on the set, you want the director to say, that was a great take or something.
Yeah.
We just constantly need that. So, but I booked that, it just felt so good. You can't even really describe the feeling.
Yeah.
I've had 4 kids. I've had big business deals go through. I'm not saying the kids and the marriage is not a great feeling, but booking a job, I don't know what it is about booking a job. It's just, you just jump out of your skin.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine, just as a husband and a father, that means additional provision for your family too, right? And if it's a national commercial, you get paid. Look, I wish I was Flo from Geico. Like, girl, can I be Flo?
Flo from Aggressive.
Can I be the black version of Flo, please?
Flo dipped in chocolate.
Right?
I actually worked with her quite a bit
Really?
on 2 or 3 Progressive commercials. But guess what's so funny? I used to do improv at the Ground Lanes. She was my teacher.
No way.
She was my teacher, and she actually booked that while she was teaching our class.
Are you serious?
It's crazy. And so when I booked those spots, I'm like, Stephanie, hey,
Wow.
It's so cool.
And that's another thing about the entertainment industry. It's good to know people. It's having those connections and relationships. If you can leverage those.
The one thing I've learned mostly, and this is in my book, I wrote a book about how to become successful as a commercial actor. Professionalism is huge.
Oh, yes.
They really want you to be on time, follow
Absolutely.
instructions. Like, I didn't realize how big of a deal that was.
Because so much money is involved.
So much money
in a production.
Involved. The timing of everything's got to be done on time, and but knowing people and being professional, because the people that you end up knowing and meeting, they will remember that you're a professional, you're talented,
Yeah.
you're easy to work with, easy to get along with.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Well, just let Stephanie know we love her, and then whenever she's ready to retire, Progressive, call me. Call me, Progressive.
I will definitely let them know
my
that.
God.
And she's very funny, by the way. She's very talented.
Oh, yeah, I can tell. I can tell just from the commercials.
Yeah, she's very talented.
So now the business, why trucking business? Why the freight business? Like, how did that come to be?
Great question. So when I was in high school, I had a bunch of buddies who were like, hey, let's start a business. I've always wanted to start a business. I even started looking at business brokers, like trying to find the right business to buy. And this was in high school now. This is, you know, I've always been driven to start a business. So in high school, I ended up getting in a little trouble driving a car. And I didn't steal it, but I was.
Let's put that out there
Yeah,
right
let's be
now,
very
okay?
clear.
Be very clear.
But my license was revoked. I shouldn't have been driving. I got in trouble. So the guy, I was driving a friend of mine's parents' car, and he helped me get out of the trouble by paying the fines. But he said, you got to pay me back.
Right.
Because my parents didn't really have any money. And so he said you could cut grass in front of my office building. So the first day I was cutting grass, I said, hey, man, I could type really well. I loved keyboarding in school. Loved it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was typing 60 words a minute, no problem,
Yes.
at 18 years old.
Okay.
He's like, really? I said, yeah. So he brought me in the office, and sure enough, I was knocking invoices out, letters out. 2 years later, I'm a vice president of this company.
2 years later?
2 years later. It's a small business, but, you know, I was running
But
it.
still.
I was running it, and I was going to college at the same time. And after like the third year, I said, hey, man, can I just buy your company? Because I saw a lot of stuff he wasn't doing. And
Were you saving money to buy a company?
I went to the SBA.
Oh, SBA. Okay, Small Business Administration for
Small
those of
Business
you.
Administration. And they said, since it's an existing business, we'll give you the money. So I got approval. Guess what? He said he didn't want to sell it when I finally was able to get the money. So I was so dead set on starting my own company. I started calling friends and family because they wouldn't loan money for a startup.
To start up.
Only for an existing.
Of course.
So I was able to borrow enough money from friends and family and started my own business. But if it hadn't been working for him, I never would have been in the transportation logistics because he owned. It was a transportation company that he owned. And so I'll never forget. June 24th, 1996 is when I got my first order transaction. And it was like booking a job. It was the happiest day.
Wow. So tell us about the business. What exactly does Norfleet do?
Yeah, Norfleet Transportation is a freight transportation logistics provider. So any type of freight transportation, no matter what it is, we can handle it. Whether it's this furniture, whether it's your car, whether it's, like, for example, we do a lot of business for the Department of Defense, U.S. military. So a lot of the troops' clothes, their equipment, ammunition, weapon, like whatever, we ship it. We do business for Target. You know, whatever you buy at Target, we're the ones shipping it over the country.
Yeah.
FedEx, Kroger.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haul freight for any entity that requires freight transportation. So I don't say any business because we do stuff for the government, for churches, whatever.
Yeah. So you have over 100 employees.
Yeah.
How did you start with your first employee? I mean, I know it's you. You're like the first. But to build a team, what was that like for you?
I think most business owners, if they're being honest with you, that's still, whether you're in business for 2 years or 20 years, that's still a tough one.
Oh,
People.
yes, it is. People. Wait, hold on. Let me take a. Did you say people? Okay, talk about it.
I mean, that's why tech and AI and everything is so popular, because people are like, how do I automate this?
Right.
Because I don't want to deal with sick days and attitudes and drama.
Which is so unfortunate because we make the economy. It's people who make the economy.
It really
and it's
is.
Like, okay, but go ahead.
So I was trying to do everything. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I learned different parts of the company, so I know how to select the right person for that job, because I understood the job.
Yes.
You know, the billing, the payroll, the accounts receivable, sales, network, marketing, the financials even, you know, the accounting. I had to do all of that.
Yeah.
And at some point you have to learn that big D word, delegate. That's a tough one.
It's become my favorite word.
I love it. It's the best.
Right?
It took me a while to learn that and let go.
I can relate.
Because part of delegating is picking the right person for the right job, but also measuring their performance, holding them accountable.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. But when I first did that, I just remembered the stress level dropping significantly, you know, because I knew I had someone competent taking care of those tasks that I was doing that was just overwhelming me.
Right.
So that's probably a year into the business, you know, because you have to have enough business to support
Absolutely,
that paycheck.
paying somebody's salary and benefits and all the things.
100%.
So,
Excuse me.
It's amazing. And the business started when?
June 24th, 1996.
1996. So it's just amazing to just see the evolution of the business and all that you accomplished through the business. What are some of the besides the people, what are some of the wins in your business? I know we talked a little bit about the challenges, and that could be people managing a team of 100, because I know you have to have leadership in place because you can't possibly manage and oversee 100. No. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. But what are some of your wins in getting to a team of 100? Like, what have you learned along the way that could help someone else as they're growing their business?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons I learned that I could think of, my initial thoughts are probably several more, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years now.
Right.
But I remember having a huge contract with the Postal Service, massive contract, and it was life-changing. I was like, oh my gosh, can't believe I won this, and ended up losing it like 2 weeks in, because they omitted some information about what I needed to, the requirements. They forgot to mention it. And one thing I can always tell people, and I'm going to get back to the story, but integrity is everything.
Absolutely.
It is everything.
I can drink the whole cup of water on that.
That's in our slogan, by the way.
I can sip it all.
Integrity is our greatest asset.
Yes.
Now, here's why that's such a big deal. So they canceled the contract, but then they ended up paying me for the entire contract like a week later. And I was like, what's going on with these people? So the first 2 weeks I did a lot of work though. So I calculated how much I did, and I sent the balance back. So the inspector general is like their police, their FBI. Said, you better send that money back. That wasn't your money. I said, no, I did the work.
Right.
So I don't think I'm going to send that back.
Right.
But I felt good about that, because I knew that I didn't do anything dirty, anything wrong, and I knew I did the work, and I knew I had the documentation to support it.
Yeah.
So he backed off, and I was kind of surprised.
Oh,
I was really
wow.
surprised. I was stressed out, couldn't eat, sleep, nothing for 2 or 3
I'm
weeks.
sure.
And then they ended up suing me. So I had to hire an attorney. Long story short, it was about a year and a half long ordeal. I came out on top.
Are you serious?
I won. Yeah, because I knew I was right.
Right.
If you know you're right, stick to your guns. But if you know you're wrong,
just let it go.
Just let it go. Just say, you know what?
Bow out gracefully.
I learned from this.
Right.
But that was one of the biggest times where I said, you know what? Had I done anything that I knew I shouldn't have done, or trying to be slick, the outcome wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
So that I grew from that, I think, quite a bit. Because when I first started, I was like trying to cut corners and stuff, you know. Yeah. But I learned, like, you sleep much better, and the outcome of things will end up in your favor if you do the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious, are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
No, I'm not. There's 5 of us.
Oh, wow.
I'm the middle.
Okay. What did your parents do for a living?
So my dad, he was in computers when I was growing up.
Okay.
And then he got into mortgages during the whole mortgage thing. Everybody's getting rich off of mortgages.
Uh-huh.
And then right after that, he's been working for my company. He's semi-retired now, but he does
Okay.
like sales and stuff. He's got a great personality.
Okay.
So
So,
he
the
does-
apple don't fall far from the tree.
Oh,
I see.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you. My mother, she had 5 kids really fast.
Okay.
So she didn't really have a career.
Well, career was raising
The
successful
career
kids.
exactly.
Right?
Unfortunately, she ended up having a lot of mental problems and health issues, and she passed away in '97.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I turned 25, it was very, very tough on us. But
Yeah.
prior to that, she's always struggled with just, in and out of the hospital. This was one thing that really got me as a young person. Her mental issues were so bad, she ended up being homeless for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And that devastated me. So, this whole homeless thing it's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
And I really want to, part of what I want to do when I'm done with business is get into policy making, or I want to help.
Okay.
Seeing that just wrecked me.
Politics.
That
Yeah.
wrecked me. I don't get down too easy, but that was tough.
Yeah, I'm sure. In my humble opinion, I think those are the best people to serve when you have some touch point or you can relate, because I've seen it firsthand and now I want to be able to offer a solution. So congratulations on whatever path you take. Let me know when I get the ballot how I can put your name. So let me check off Leonard Jackson on the ballot somewhere.
Well, there's a big election coming up next year, 2026, November, statewide.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily sure, convinced I'm going to do it, but I'm really considering a run for office.
Good.
A big office.
Good.
Don't want to say what it is yet, but it's a big office.
It's a big office.
So, yeah,
Okay.
you'll see my name on the ballot if I decide.
Yeah.
But
How long have you been thinking about that, though?
I've been thinking about it for going on about a year and a half.
Really?
The leadership hasn't been so great. I just want to if I could just say one thing about it, I really want people to take this away. We have to be careful who we put in certain positions.
Yes.
There's 3 branches of government, I think most people know. Whoever doesn't know, it's the legislative, judicial, and executive. Legislative branch is typically where you see a lot of the politicians, Congress, House, Senate, etc. And that makes sense because you're debating how the law should be, and you're creating the laws, and you're voting on the laws. So, yeah, there's a place for that. Judicial, obviously, you have to have a law degree. You have to be a judge or at least an attorney. And then for the executive branch, people just act like anybody can do that job.
Right.
You have to have some executive experience. You can't just walk in.
We thought you had to have some.
Exactly.
Just so I'm clear.
You have to be careful not to put a politician that just says the right thing with 0 experience in that type of job. That's a big job. I'm the CEO of a company. I'm going to tell you, it's not an easy job. I've hired a lot of COOs, a lot of people to help me run it. You have to have the experience,
Yes.
some executive experience. So having that, and also being in front of the camera, I feel like I'm a perfect candidate for this. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're
that's
coming from the entertainment industry, and you know how to position yourself. How to really sell the fact that you are the right candidate for whatever position you're running for.
Yes, exactly.
Well, look, we're behind you 101%
Yes,
on
ma'am.
that one.
Thank
so,
you.
do you have any leaders that you admire? Like, who do you look to as sort of your North Star, or just someone that you have a great level of admiration for, and that you glean some knowledge from?
Yeah. No, I don't want to give you a kindergartner answer, but it's going to sound like that.
No, hey, it's fine if that's. Hey.
I'm a big history buff.
Okay.
Huge history buff, and I've traveled the world a good little bit, and traveled our country a good little bit. George Washington, man, I gotta give it to this dude.
Okay, talk to me.
I gotta give it to this dude. What he pulled off was pretty darn impressive. When you think about this guy had really just a couple of he went up against the most powerful army and navy in the world.
Right.
And the British Army has been that dominant for centuries.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And here he is with this tattered little uprising, you know, not even a real army, and he beat him. And the stuff that he did to beat him was
Strategy.
really mind-blowing. And then once he succeeded at the battle, he gets into government. He didn't even want to be president. I think most people, I don't know if most people know, he didn't want to be president.
Right.
But he said, we don't have a king, you know? We need the people to run this place.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just think he handled that so well as a leader, inspiring his people, even when they had nothing. They had no reason to stick around. But he also showed strength, and he had a backbone, which you need as a leader too.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, George Washington was very impressive, you know?
I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, he had slaves on. I mean, that's horrible. It's horrible. But, you know, you look at the times, and I wish there was more people that stood up back then, obviously. But his leadership skills were, I would call them off the charts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, you know, my favorite person is like Michael Jordan.
Oh, all right.
He, his mind control is what blows me away to this day. You know, he would show up every night knowing everybody's expecting him to be the best, and he's going to put up these. And most people get kind of freaked out and psyched out and like get in their head. That guy had never got in his head. He just got the job done. And a lot of debate about the GOAT, you know, LeBron, Kobe,
Right.
The reason why I say Jordan is because his leadership, he made everyone around him better.
Yes.
And that takes a good leader. How do I
Absolutely.
inspire my team for this common goal, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's what good leaders do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I always say teamwork is the best work.
yes.
Teamwork is the best work.
Yes.
But
Teamwork is-
I remember, was it Jordan who said, somebody said there's no I in team, but he said there's an I in win. I was like, well, all righty then, sir. You're right. You're absolutely right. No, those are, you know, some very admirable leaders that,
yeah, I mean,
that you...
please don't. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of them out there
Of
that
course.
I'm not thinking of. And
But I just wanted to know the ones that you kind of like...
My knee-jerk reaction
Yes.
are those. I mean, obviously Lincoln was great. He was bold as heck. When you make bold decisions and you're able to be successful with that, I think that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, emancipating the slaves, that was huge.
Right.
And to have it all still work, to keep the country together, to
Yeah.
win that crazy war, like that was extremely impressive. So I got to give kudos to him in terms of the leadership.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
Look, I say anybody who could run a country and lead a mass of people, group of people, especially in a country like America, where we thrive on freedom and free will and free choice, and really trying to get everybody to at least move in the same direction for the better good. Look, I say hats off to any politician or anybody who's aiming to be a politician and who understand that it's about the people and not your own self-interest and your own self, you know, motivation and all those things. Like that's something completely different. And I see that a lot now, and it's so hard to trust politicians. So, you know, wanting to take on that role, how do you get people to trust you?
you know, you have to live that life. You have to live that life, man.
Being transparent.
You have to be transparent, and you have to believe in. You have to believe in what you say. You have to say what you believe, and most importantly, I think you have to live by example. Like, you know, people are like, "Oh man, you know, don't you have some skeletons?" Actually, I don't. You know, I've lived a pretty clean life.
Right.
You know, I think the biggest thing is, like you said earlier, you have to care.
Yes.
You really have to care.
Absolutely.
If you have the right intentions, a lot of your decisions and a lot of things you say will be in line with those intentions. And people could, for the most part, they could see it. you
Yeah.
know. So I'm gonna go, if I do decide, my way of either campaigning and doing the job, I'm not going to compromise who I am.
Good.
You know
Good
what I
for
mean?
you.
If I have to compromise who I am to make this happen, I'm just not the guy.
You walk away from it.
But I'm gonna make it very well known to the people. Like, hey, look, this is who you're getting.
Right.
If you want to hear somebody throw mud at each other and talk about what they did in the 10th grade and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna insult you like that and
Yeah.
waste your time and energy on those type of conversations. I'm gonna talk about what I can do, how I'm gonna do it, why I'm the guy to do it, right?
Yes.
You don't
Yes.
really hear that too often.
Yes.
Why am I the one qualified to do it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that versus talk about what my opponent did or did not do and, college and stuff like that. That's irrelevant.
Well, this is so good, and y'all already know how I feel right now because they're telling me I got to wrap it up, and I don't want to wrap it up because this has been so rich. But before I wrap it up,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
there anything else you would like to share, words of encouragement or words of wisdom to just aspiring leaders, that young man, that young Leonard who want to run a business or start a business but just don't know what to do?
Absolutely. A couple things I want to say. To answer your last point, because I got kids too. I got to tell them this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is this. You're not going to know exactly what to do. There's doers and thinkers.
Yes.
If you're just a thinker, you're probably not going to do a whole
You're
lot.
stuck.
But if you're a doer, you got to think a little bit because you just get out there. But I'd rather err on the side of a doer because a doer with goals and ambitions, they're going to figure it out. They're probably going to get, I tell people this all the time. They say, how did you do well, da-da-da-da? I said, I got my butt kicked, but I kept going. I kept getting up because I learned from those beat downs.
Yes.
I learned every time I got my butt kicked, I learned. So doers and thinkers, I say be a little bit of both, but when you get out there, you just got to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to get out there because it's not going to be perfect. I promise you it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have to just learn from those mistakes and keep going.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say, this is something I really discovered when I was in grad school. We would have all these conversations, and at the end of the day, we're all here to leave this place better than we found it.
Oh, yes.
So just remember that in everything you do.
I love it. He reminds me of my favorite George Washington Carver quote that said, none of us can, how does it go? None of us can pass through this world. None of us should pass through this world without leaving a legitimate and distinct reason for having passed through it. So it's just, we all have a purpose. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna let that plane land right there. We're gonna land that plane right there. Thank you so much,
Thank
Leonard,
you.
for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to do those 3 magical words: like, share, subscribe. Send this episode to young men, young boys, young girls who have an aspiration to start a business or to be a CEO in some form of leadership. But leadership starts right where you are, in your home, in your classroom, wherever you are, you can be a leader. So I hope you heard something today that will help you on your leadership journey. Until next time, have a great day. Bye now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye until next time.